Welcome back, everybody, to the Drought Crops Update Weekly for the week ending September 10, 2022. Let's go take a look and see what's happening out in the great U.S. in terms of crops, drought, fire, weather. So we start with the Firms USA Canada map looking at fires, and we can still see there's quite a concentration up in Idaho, Washington, Oregon, and California. Some of these fires down in the Los Angeles area are relatively new over the past few days, and there's quite a large number of evacuations that are ongoing down here as of last night. Well, we've been watching the Moose Fire up here in Idaho, and it has grown to 125,000 acres. Last week at this time, I believe it was 103,000 acres. So it has grown significantly, and if we zoom in, we can look at the pattern of growth. Over the past week, the winds have been primarily west to east, and this area over here to the southwest, which is already burned, but this was actively burning last week, generating a lot of smoke, and right now it's shifting over eastward, and you can see the perimeter fires. This is where it's actively burning, generating tremendous amounts of smoke in this area. If we look at the MODIS satellite imagery, and this is yesterday's image, the one for today has not been posted yet, but you can see the tremendous amount of smoke, and of course a lot of other smaller fires around this area, but this area in the northwestern part of the U.S. is pretty smoky. There has been some weather has moved through the area, and you can see lingering clouds still here a little further to the east. Again, this is not the current image. We'll look at the current image here in a minute, but this is the latest image available on this site here. You can see there's a relatively large fire in Oregon, and the wind here is blowing offshore, and so it's heading out to the Pacific, then it's circling down to the south, and then it's coming back in toward more of the central California area and inundating that region. So if we look over here, again, as of yesterday, Yellowstone was relatively clear. Smoke was shifting a little bit to the south, running up against this front. And then over here where I am at, we were under clouds all day yesterday. Thursday, we had about 0.3 inches of rain, and that really changed the heat index here and the smoke patterns. So for current, we'll go look at the GOES satellite, which is a geostationary satellite that's in orbit some 60,000 miles above the surface of the Earth, and that orbital speed at that altitude is exactly matching the orbital speed of the Earth, and so the satellite stays above the same point all the time. And so we see the sunrise moving east to west here today on Saturday the 10th, and tremendous smoke again here all through this Idaho area. This Oregon fire, here's the smoke blowing out to the Pacific, and it looks like it's the storm. This is the I guess a tropical, they don't call them a hurricane in the Pacific, but the storm is coming up and clipping along the southern coast of California and creating these north winds, and that's blowing this smoke off to the north, which yesterday's image showed it looping back into California. So it's already cleared out. Here in the west, if we look over here, here's the Black Hills sitting here, and it looks like there's some light smoke coming down into western and south central South Dakota. I haven't been out yet this morning, and so I don't know if it's actually smoky enough to be occluded, or you can smell it like you did in the previous days this week. So things have changed around here. We're going to go to the drought condition, and we're going to look at this is right now we're looking at the week ending August 30th, and as I move the slide bar to the left, we're going to see the current picture, which is as of September 6th, and we're going to see this extreme drought up here is going to pretty much go away, and then large areas down here in central Texas, because of the rains they've received, has abated as well. Most of the other areas are going to remain relatively the same. So we move this slider through, and again up in the northeast, that red is pretty much gone. And now as we come through central Texas, you'll see a lot of the red has shrunk dramatically over the past week. The west is still pretty much the same. And as we saw with the GO satellite, this area is dry, and it's probably going to continue to be dry, at least according to the forecast. Okay, so we're going to come over here to Vegscape, which looks at our NDVI values, which is a satellite-derived product using red and infrared bands to look at the vigorousness of the crop growth. And as we'll see in a minute, a lot of the wheat harvest has already occurred throughout the U.S., and that's this region mostly in here. And you can see that by these low NDVI values. And so what is left on the ground is dry. The crop is pretty much gone. And the vigorousness of the growth is not evident because the crop has been harvested. And so I know up in the Palouse area in eastern Washington, that is all harvested up the wheat here. And you can see that in NDVI. Okay, this green, vigorous green up in this area, from eastern South Dakota through Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana. This is corn, which has not yet begun to harvest, and we'll watch that as we move through. Soil moisture, this is for the week ending 9/7. This is the weekly anomaly in soil moisture, looking at the anomaly between the normal and what it is now. So these darker tones, the tans and oranges, are dry. The blues are increasing from average, and so a lot of rain down in this area. Monsoonal rains up here in Arizona, and then the east has been continually receiving, for the most part, quite a lot of rain over the past several weeks, and so this area seems to be pretty wet. We out here are pretty dry. If we look at the daily, as this is 9/7, just the day, which was 3 days ago, and you can see that again, very hot in this part of the country. Right here in Rapid City on these days, we were anywhere from 99 for a high up to 103. Wednesday, Thursday in Rapid City, the high was 102. And yesterday, Friday, the high was 57. And so overnight on Thursday, we received about 1/3 of an inch of rain, really, and accompanied by high winds, and that blew the smoke out somewhat. It cooled the temperatures, and it really changed the situation here dramatically. Okay, but overall, very, very dry, and you see that reflected in the upper layer of the soil. Okay, crop progress. This is as of September 4. This is looking at corn. Right now, the corn on maturing, the solid line is for 2022, and you can see it's roughly around 17% of the corn crop in the ground right now is matured. It is behind what it has been since 2017 by about 3 to 4 percentage points. Harvest yet is a week off or so, so this is not quite up to date. This is, we're going to be out here another week yet, and before this is going to show some corn harvest, and we'll see if that stays low or if the harvest can pick up and kind of catch up with these previous curves. So that's corn. We talked about wheat just a little bit ago, and we could see that in NDVI. And here is the wheat. It is some 70% harvested, again lagging behind what it has been in previous years as corn has, and that had to do with the weather conditions all across the U.S. for the various crops, that they had trouble getting it in the field, too hot, too dry, too wet, whatever the situation might have been. And so the mature harvest, or the maturity of the crop, and then the harvest of the crop is a little bit delayed. So we'll keep an eye on that, and hopefully we'll be able to see on NDVI the corn harvest like we do the wheat harvest. All right, let's take a look at the GFS computer-generated model for precipitation over the next few days. And this is right in the middle of a model run, so it's only going out for the next day or so, which is probably going to be more accurate. But again, you can see that this remnants of the storm that came through here a couple days ago is moving off to the east, and this whole western and northwestern part, central part of the country off to the west coast, remains high and dry going through these model runs. So it doesn't look like in the upcoming days there's going to be a lot of relief for the forest fire activity off in the west. Some spotty things starting up here, looks like in the next 3 or 4 days, and that's probably going to be remnants of this low that came up and impacted Southern California, throwing these cloud bands and possibly some precipitation up into this area, which will be greatly needed in that area. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at this week. Hope you can stay cool if you're in the hot areas. Hope you can stay dry if you're in the wet areas. Thanks for watching this channel. Hope you join us next week again. See ya.